Welcome to the Athlete Lab podcast. I'm your host, Phil Osaer. Each week we dive into the systems, the mindset, and the science behind what makes athletes great. Today's guest is Max Jones. Max was a first-round draft pick into the NHL, played at the U.S. national team development program, and now he's a forward with the Edmonton Oilers. Max shares things that he's learned from the game superstar Connor McDavid on how to stay healthy, how to stay sharp, and all the other things that has really built his career around the grit and relentlessness that he plays with and we see every day in the NHL. Really looking forward to hearing from Max, and then also all the things that young athletes, parents, coaches, or just people who want to be inspired can learn from this conversation. Let's dive in. Today we're really excited to have Max Jones join us from the Edmonton Oilers. So Max, thanks for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for having me. This be fun.
Yeah, our pleasure. So what does your off season look like?
Yeah, well, it's a little different now considering we went to the finals in Edmonton. So I just got back probably a couple weeks ago. I didn't even really take any time off. I took about a week out of the gym, but I stayed on the ice. I went on the ice that Wednesday. I got home probably 4 or 5 days after the finals, just because I just wanted to keep on the ice, feel good, whatnot. But and then we just had a little trip to Cabo, I was just telling you about, for a wedding, and then that's pretty much it. Now I'm kind of locked in for the rest of the summer, training, skating, and then that's pretty much it. I'll head out September 1st probably.
Right. Nice. So the hockey players like to play hockey. You get home, you still just want to skate.
Yeah.
That's good.
Exactly.
So let's dive right into that. You mentioned, you guys went to the finals. What an unreal experience. You get traded, and all of a sudden you're on a contender, and walk me through that.
Yeah.
It's that time of year. How did that all go for you?
Yeah, I mean, even before that year, it's been kind of a crazy career for me. Just obviously going to Anaheim, and then it being kind of a whole rebuilding situation, and coaches kind of in and out, GMs kind of in and out in Anaheim. So it was really weird, and those 6 years there, and then get an opportunity to go to Boston, who's been an excellent team for X amount of years, and it's super excited. Have a very slow start as a team, snowball effects, and then trade deadline come around. It was hearing my name to Edmonton a lot, probably a good month and a half before the deadline. So I was obviously pretty antsy, pretty excited about that, going to Edmonton. They just went to the Cup the year before. They got the 2 best players in the world on their team. And, it was when I got the call, I was wow, this is happening. It was super exciting. Going to the Cup was really cool, just being around that whole environment, the way the team manages themselves. Knobloch there too is great. It was the one thing I realized, when you're part of a good culture, a really good culture and a good team, the team can manage themselves, and the coach he's just worried about coaching. There's no other extracurriculars, no mind games, nothing going on. It's literally just, hey, show up to the rink, be a professional, and then worry about the team first. And that was kind of what I realized the first week I was there, and it was mind-blowing to me, just the culture, and it's awesome, the way that the guys handle their day-to-day business. It was and then obviously having McDavid there, I feel just watching him in practice made me a better player. Just every day going in and watching him, he would lead the way, and it was all right, I want to try to be that guy,
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Right.
But super cool year. I'm definitely really excited to go back and be around it again. Guys are great.
Nice. So there's a lot there, obviously. So first of all, you get in there and you're seeing that, and you've obviously been in the NHL. You've seen different teams. You've played for the list of coaches you've had. You must have learned a lot from the Hunter, all the way through, and playing for Monty for a bit. But it just diving a little deeper into, so you see this culture of this team. They're obviously expecting to win the Cup, and that's, it was a Cup or nothing type of a feeling, I'm guessing. But
what would be the day-to-day like for young athletes that, you hear you say that? Can you explain like what McDavid does aside from obviously he's special, but like what does he do that everyone can do? Like you said, you're trying to kind of mimic.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just like routine. He's built himself a routine that he follows, every single day. And you'll notice it, like each day you'll see him do certain workouts, certain recovery on days that we don't skate. On the ice, like he'll do the same thing. Like I noticed, like as soon as we get on the ice, like he'll come flying like onto the ice and take like a couple hard like laps, get his legs going. And this is like an everyday thing. It's like the one thing I realized is a lot of those guys there, and I mean I've been doing it for a couple of years, but is just noticing that everybody has a routine and they're following it like to a T, like very strictly. Whether again that's recovery, whether it's working out, what you're eating, your sleep patterns, everything's very consistent. And it's very consistent with Connor. He's got everything dialed in, and obviously in Edmonton they have pretty much anything you could think of in terms of recovery. They got, hyperbaric chambers. They got O2 devices for riding bikes. They got TEMS machines that you'll lay down on and they will shock the system, and it's supposed to kind of be like a grounding thing. I mean, they have an unbelievable amount of resources, and you see guys using them every single day, and that's the main thing to me is routine and being consistent with it.
So when you talk about routine, like, is that something I've heard mental sports performance people talk about routine being like the basis. Have you ever worked with somebody like that, or do you find just having that routine to help you be, more mentally prepared for games and the trials and tribulations of playing in the NHL?
Yeah. So like my first couple years, like coming in as a pro, you're still young, right? Like I think I played my first game when I was 20. I mean, obviously you get drafted at 18 and you're a kid, like, you at that age, like I would be like, oh, like I'm not a kid, I'm 18, I'm drafted, but
right.
Looking back now, it's like I was a kid, and you want to learn as much as you can in those couple of years from veteran players. Like my first couple of years, Getzlaf, Perry, and I would watch them, and then I would start to learn from them, and then add things into my routine. And yeah, it's huge for me, game days. There's obviously routine, and there's obviously like rituals and stuff like that where you don't want to be too dialed in on it or too much where it's like, okay, every time I go through a door I gotta do something. But right. There's a certain fine line between it, having a routine and rituals and whatnot, being superstitious. But it definitely helps you mentally prepare. I don't think anybody would tell you different. It's just a way to get your mind ready for the game. And then obviously too, just practices in general. You have like something similar for that, so you can get the most out of your practice days.
Right, every day is so important, right?
Yeah.
You touched on something with sleep and nutrition. Like, do you track that? Is that something like you've dove into science? I feel like every year something else comes out where there's more information, and I've been around the players who do the best. They care about everything. They care about where they're drinking their water from. They care about what they're eating. Have you really dove deep into like what you need for yourself on those things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I think anybody would tell you, like, as you get older, like your body starts to change. You start to become a little bit more sensitive to certain foods or certain things. And, I noticed a couple years back, like I had problems with dairy, or, maybe I felt better if I ate a certain type of, red meat or a certain type of fish before games, or a certain type of pasta, whether it's gluten-free or like a brown rice or like a quinoa pasta or, something along those lines. I would notice it in terms of when I would go play the game, and I would try to stay consistent with something for a couple games and feel, okay, I'm feeling a lot more powerful, so this is what I'm going to do now. And this was all just learning, like watching what guys were doing, watching what they were eating, talking to guys. In Edmonton, Jeff Skinner, who became one of my like really good buddies there, he would only drink his certain water bottles or glass bottles that he had like imported from like Italy. They're like called Dolomias and stuff, and I used to always chirp him all the time about it. But he would have those every day, and like that's all he would drink. And he had a little app on his phone that you could like scan the water bottle, and it would tell you like what percentage of that water is like pure, what has maybe microplastics in it. Like he's got like, you know, that kind of situation where he's like, okay, like I want to drink a lot of water, and I want to drink a lot of like really good water, which I started doing. You know, in Edmonton they got like multiple brands of waters, and I mean it's just small little things like that you know you learn over time, and I've carried it with me over the years, just watching different guys and what they do.
It's great. You hear like that level of detail is why guys get to the league and they stay in the league, is just be able to do all those things and be willing to do it, because that's not easy to import your water bottles from Italy and scan it every day.
No.
Now you're paying attention to that. It's like one more thing.
No, exactly. It's not easy, but I don't know what they say. It's like a couple weeks, like maybe 2 weeks to build a habit or something.
Yeah.
And if you can just grind for like 2 weeks and doing something, whether it's, I don't know, like, okay, 2 weeks, I'm going to do band work for a warm up. And then by that time, like, it's just like, okay, like I would wake up and go to the rink and be like, okay, like I got to do this. And it just becomes your second nature. So I've learned to just, okay, like if I'm going to change something, I got to bear down for like 2 weeks, and then it'll just become like normal, you know?
That's good. You're paying attention to everything. And you mentioned you started feeling more powerful, which transition a bit, like that's not good for the guys you're playing against. I've seen you play enough where you just absolutely blow some people up, you know, play a physical game, a little bit old school. So growing up, you're that type of player. You know, the game was, you fit the right type of mold. But it's really interesting. Your dad goes to Michigan, has a crazy amount of points in college, goes on to play in the NHL, and, you know, has a real career, plays for a long time. But then you and your brother both decided to go to Major Junior, and that was, you know, back in a time where you had to make that decision. And for Detroit area kids, like the O's around and college is around, like it's a real decision to make. So talk you through that, and like from a development standpoint, what made you decide, you know, to go that route after, you know, you're at the program obviously, but to go that route versus more what I would consider a traditional at the time, you know, American player route?
Yeah. It is strange. Just, I always think about it too. Like both my parents were at Michigan, and that's where they met. Both of them are Hall of Famers there, and obviously being recruited by Michigan, it was in the back of my mind like the whole time. My brother going to Plymouth, playing for the Whalers there in the OHL before they moved to Flint. They moved to Flint, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I would watch his games all the time. This was when I was U18 Honeybake, before getting drafted to the O. So I kind of had a sense of like the style of game that the OHL played. Then I went to the program, and, you know, honestly, I just didn't. It's a difficult place, especially in that time period. It was just very hard. We didn't have a really good team. It was very difficult day to day. Scheduling, just it was hard on me, and I just obviously got drafted by London. They had a really good team. I liked the way they played, and I liked the way that the league was set up in the O, that it played a little bit more games. I just thought it was a good fit for me to go to London, and it worked out. I mean, I don't know, who knows what happens if I stay 2 years at the program, go college, you know, maybe I'm sitting somewhere else, different team, drafted somewhere else, you know, I don't know. But got to wear it on your sleeve, and I love the time I spent in London. I met my wife there, won a Memorial Cup that first year. I mean, we had a great team and got to play under Dale Hunter. It was great. So the decision wasn't easy by any means, but especially now with the new rule, these guys can go college anyways. So yeah,
so good for them now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's gonna help. You know, college hockey is going to thrive from that, you know, so, but yeah, different time period. I'm kind of excited to see how that goes with that decision now, see what guys do.
Yeah, no, it's a great to have those options. I remember, you know, like those, you talk to so many players and they're trying to make that decision. There's no right answer. You know, you're trying to do what's best for you, and you're getting all the influences. So you get to London as an American kid. They've had a bit of a run of players from our area that played there. So you're playing for Dale Hunter, and he is, you know, he's obviously a guy who's been everywhere. What did you learn from him? Like, what about the development in London? Mitch Marner was on your team, right? some ridiculous amount of points in the Mem Cup. I mean, so you got some special players around you. Well, can you remember anything that in particular where you felt like you developed your game, take another step towards being an NHLer?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of it was just from practices. It wasn't like practices, they were hard on guys. It was kind of just like they have a culture that's been built there for so long, where they have guys come in that compete no matter what it is, whether you're playing, we would play mini sticks in the locker room and we'd be competing that, and you get on the ice for practice, you'd be competing there, and you're talking like in every drill and every single situation. So a big part of that is the culture that they've built, Dale and Mark. And Dale always just kind of taught me that, especially during that time frame, when I got to London and just before USA, I would be right on that line, and I would say mostly over the line of the edge of, like I'd get too hot, too much, like I'd do something crazy, and it would have to be brought down a bit. And I think that was something that Dale always worked with me on, was being able to play at that line and be the best that I can be without going over it. And because I had some suspensions in the O and stuff like that, but as my career went on there, I became into a player that was dominant without having to take suspensions and take too many penalties or do something stupid on the ice. It was something like mentally he helped me find the line and be able to play right at that line without going over it.
So did he give you something or trigger words? You get back to the bench and you can see it teetering, and was that it? Like, what type of tools did he give you?
It was kind of, a little bit like that. And this too, my parents obviously helped me with that too. Just be like, okay, you get back to the bench, take a couple deep breaths. If it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, like, start thinking about something else. Start thinking about your dogs at home or something like completely out of the ordinary that's not involved in hockey, to calm you down a bit. So those were small things, and those went like a big way for me. And then I was just playing like really good hockey, so it was also a part that I came to the realization, like I knew, like, okay, my team needs me, and I need my team. So it was like, okay, like I can't do something to hurt the team, like, and that was kind of also a big part of like what I learned from Dale, was like, all right, like I got to be a part of this team and play my role, and they need me, and I need them as much as the team needs me. So we're all pulling the same weight, and I was like, as soon as I'm not pulling my weight, and then I'm not doing my job. So that was a big thing from Dale that I learned. So
yeah, that's great. You're sitting there in front of however many 10,000 people in London. You're thinking about your dogs at home, so you don't take another 5-game suspension.
Yeah, literally, I get back to the bench, I'm just thinking about my dogs. We're like down a goal. I'm just like,
hey,
whatever works. Yeah,
you go back out there, but
whatever works.
Yeah, when you have somebody share that type of like ideas with you and kind of make it okay, come down the bench and what do you think? I'm thinking about my dogs right now. I'm not. Your head's in the game, but you knew you had to reset. So like that type of mental approach in a game is tough, because you're playing, you're competitive. You've touched on it both Edmonton and London, like you said, culture. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about competitiveness, like just competing in many sticks, and that goes back to you saying you just wanted to skate when you got home, because it's like hockey players like to play hockey, right?
Yeah.
So how could you describe that, or how do you think a team could, if you're a coaching a 16U team and you want to develop that culture, that competitive nature, what are the type of things you would like recommend?
Oh God, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's not easy. Like I don't know. I mean, being a coach is hard. I've never had to be on that side of it, but coaching kids, it's difficult, because you're trying to find the guys that have that fire in them and let them kind of lead the way. I would assume you want to find those couple guys that are on your team, maybe have that fire in them. They're high engine guys, and let them kind of build let them build the culture. And but it's not easy. Like, I mean, even in Anaheim, for 6 years, I mean, we struggled to try to find a culture, just letting the team build something. I mean, we had to deal with firings of coaches, and then GMs, switching GMs, and then you want the team to be able to control what's going on in the room and have no distractions. And it's like sometimes stuff happens like that where it's like, well, you want the team to be able to manage themselves and create something, and then it's just like sometimes you get distractions or, and it's hard. Like, we're talking professional hockey, trying to, build a culture. It's like, I don't even know how you could do that with, a U15, U16 team. I mean, it happens slowly over time, I would assume. I mean, that's just, to me, when I went to London, it was like they've been that way for so long that they've just, I don't know how they've managed to keep it that way,
Right. Just becomes part of it, it's in the water.
Yeah.
Almost,
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just like an everyday thing. Guys, high energy guys, and maybe that's just what they look for. They look for high energy guys, high fire guys who compete all the time, and that creates the culture itself. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Like you keep hitting on those, it's that routine, and if that's what you're going to do every day, then it just becomes, after a couple of weeks, it becomes a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So now you get ready for training camp. Mm-hmm. What individually will you be working on? You know the team. You know where you're going to fit in, where you want to be. Like, is there something that your coach has said, go back and, like, get better at this? Is it wall play? Is it, like, you're skating? Like, what is it you're going to try to, like, get better at every day now?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. My exit meeting was great. They literally didn't tell me that I needed to work on anything. They were like, look, you're, a hell of a player. Like, you're big, strong, fast, shoot hard. The one thing they recommended to me was having, a mental sports psychologist coach to be able to bring that fire out of me and be able to play the way I can, whether it's, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's always easy to play hockey when you're playing a lot of minutes because you're always invested in the game. But being able to play the same way with, 8 minutes of ice, which is like not a lot, being able to play that way and be effective every shift, that was the one thing they recommended to me, was Stan and Knobber there. They were like, you don't got to work anything, but we'd love, maybe like if you could get like a sports coach and be able, like a mental coach and be able to like have that confidence on the ice the way you've played your whole life with, minimal minutes or, really good minutes. And I love the idea. So I've been talking around about getting one and which one I want to, obviously work with. So that was the only thing that they had said to me. But like outside of that, like to me personally, like, obviously I'm going to go into the gym, I'm going to lift, I'm going to train, I got to, maintain the muscle and stuff. On the ice, there's obviously things I think that I need to work on. So I'm going to continue to do that. Rims are a big thing. Being able to control the puck off the wall as a winger, like that's huge, especially as a left winger. And being a lefty, collecting rims on your backhand side is a lot more difficult than being on the off wing because the puck is on your forehand side. It's easier to pick that puck up and turn up ice being on your forehand to make an outlet pass, rather than get the puck on your backhand and have to come out and be cross body trying to make a play on your backhand through the middle of the ice, or you're just going off the wall. So working on that backhand rim pickups is something that I'll continue to always work on. Find my outs, find ways to create space for myself and skate with the puck if I'm getting pinched by a D-man, or if it's a high forward coming over to me to engage me. It's never ending. You're always working on something. And again, this is what we were talking about earlier, where you start to watch guys practice things, little things, like we're talking just, guys standing on the wall, just picking up a puck and just putting it back down, picking up a puck, just super small things. That's what I've always learned, and now I'm just like, all right, well, I'm going to do what he was just doing. I'm going to learn that. I'm going to do that now, and then, okay, he's doing some sauce passes over a little stick. I'm like, okay, add that in, and then you just have these lists of things that guys do in your head, and then you just add them into your own, and it becomes your own. So,
that's great. It's like, I think a lot of times people would think that NHL players, there might be some special sauce of what they're doing to get better, but taking the puck off the wall and you got a big D-man coming through and making a productive play. If you're playing 8-9 minutes, every one of those plays has to be productive, or then it goes down to 4 or 5 minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, because the threshold between a good versus bad game when you're playing 8 minutes, or those minimal minutes, like the threshold of playing a good game versus a bad game is literally like a bounce of the puck, and you need to make super safe plays. You can't get too ahead of yourself because you try to create too much out of nothing because you want to play more, but then it's also, I got to play safe. to make the right plays, but you also want to make something happen out there. So it's very hard. It's a very difficult way to play, but you just got to be safe. And that was actually like another thing being told by those guys is like play safe from there, and then you can advance and have pucks in the O-zone and try to create stuff more. But it's like those small little plays, be safe. And, again, it's difficult. I mean, it's being able to, a good versus bad game, like, you got to have those simple plays and work on those simple things in the game. Right.
And it's interesting they ask you about mental sports performance specialists because, in an NHL game, you got TV timeouts 3 every period, offensive zones. I'm guessing that, 97 or 29 are going over the boards. And so that resets. So now you have to have the ability to stay engaged, to know what you're going to have to, do and manage the matchup you might have, especially on the road. All of a sudden you're going to have a different responsibility. So it'll be interesting to see like when you find that person to work with and what type of, gains you can get from that. And if that really helps you go from 8 to 14, 15 minutes.
Yeah. That'd be huge. You're always looking, every player's looking for more opportunity, and I feel like I've been itching and scratching and clawing for it, almost my whole career. So,
you mentioned as you get older, I kind of want to laugh. Like you're still like, while you've been in the league for a while, like you're still really young, and you see the guys take care of themselves, and they just keep playing and playing. So like that's all those little details of the best years are still to come for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trained with Cam Fowler. Like I've been best friends with him now ever since we met in Anaheim. We lived with him in Anaheim, and I noticed what he would do on a nightly basis. He had a obviously a really nice house out in Newport Beach, and he would go in his hot tub, and then he'd go in his pool for like a little cold, and then back in the hot tub he'd do a contrast the night before every single game. And that was like another, like, one of the first things I picked up from a player doing something that would benefit himself and recover, because sometimes as a kid you're just coming up and you're just playing hockey, like you don't know. But when you're playing 82 games and then playoffs, like there's things that you need to do to keep your body like feeling good every single day. Like you just have to do it, and he's played he literally played since he's 18. He just had 1,000 games this year, played in the Winter Classic. Like and he's still like, it looks like he could play another 18 years.
Exactly. He's got more years for sure.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned Perry and Getzlaf when he first came in the league that they played for. Perry's still going. It's like those are impressive, but that's the taking care of yourself on the day-to-day environment. So when you go back and you look at your career from the time you go to the program to where you are now, is there any like big turning points that come out, like an aha moment, something like that? Or maybe it was a coach interaction, maybe it was just something where you took that extra step?
Yeah, like we were talking about London with Dale, just obviously the mental side of the game. And Anaheim at the start of the career, it was a lot of figuring out like what was kind of happening. Like, there's games I'd play, games I wouldn't play. Then a guy gets hurt, you get pulled up in the lineup, you play really well, you put up points, you do what you're supposed to. Then that guy comes back from injury, and then you're kind of back down. So then you're trying to like fight with the idea of like, oh, well, why? And then you got to be like, okay, but don't worry about that. Like, I still got to play hockey and be really good. So that, I think, now is just kind of like from Anaheim, I think it was probably like my second or third year there, like I realized like I was kind of like a guy that was a utility player. Like I could play up and down the lineup, play anywhere. And I started to kind of realize, okay, like no matter if I go from the first line down to the fourth line, or I go power play without power play, like I gotta just still be the best that I can be, because they're relying on me to be that, and they want me to be that. So at first it was kind of like a, pissed off kind of attitude, like why? And it's like rightfully so. You can keep that energy, but you don't want to express that emotionally, because, like then that's not for the benefit of the team. So that was probably like my third year in Anaheim where I kind of had that aha moment where I was like, okay, like take it and direct it. Like, don't visually make yourself look, upset or pissed off and sulking around, but you can take it and then let it fuel you in a direction that's going to benefit you and then obviously the team. So that was like my third year that happened, I think.
Yeah, that's when you're 23 at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like there's a lot of learning that goes on. So you mentioned you get to your 17 when you get to London and those things. That's good. Well, definitely be a fan and watching this year. And I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your experiences.
Yeah, no, thanks. This was great. I enjoyed it. It was awesome.
Likewise.
Thanks.
All right.